Title: The Shadow Man of Mackenzie. And first, let me take you back to 94. I was just 5 years old, living in the heart of Fresno, California. We stayed in an upstairs apartment on the corner of Mackenzie and 9th Street. From my window, I used to watch people come and go from the small Mexican convenience store across the road. Life was simple until the night everything changed. My uncle, who lived next door with his family, once confronted a gangbanger trying to break into his car. He scared them off with a hunting rifle, thinking that would be the end of it. He was wrong. From that moment on, our apartment became a target. Drive-by shootings happened late at night. Bullets tore through the silence. My mom boarded up the windows to protect us. We were lucky no one got hit. Eventually, we escaped and found a cheap Section 8 house at Mackenzie and 1st Street, just a few miles away. It seemed like a blessing at first, but blessings can be deceiving. The house looked normal enough, though half the fence out back was scorched, like it had been licked by flames. My mom didn't ask questions. She just thanked God we weren't dodging bullets anymore. Then, the shadows came. It started with my mom. One night, while my dad was away, she woke up to find a man-shaped shadow standing silently in the corner of her room. She froze and clutched my baby brother tight. The shadow glided into the closet and vanished. My dad brushed it off and said spirits drift through houses all the time. He told her they'd move on eventually. My mom kept it quiet. She didn't want to scare us. But word got out. My sister's classmates, passing by on a school bus, pointed at our house and said it was haunted. My sister laughed it off, until the night the shadow came for her. She and my other sister shared a room. Sometime deep in the night, a figure in a long, draping cloak stepped through their door. It looked like a vampire, black as night. It lunged at her and pinned her down. She couldn't scream, couldn't breathe. In desperation, she bit our other sister just to wake her up. But the other sister had seen it too, and was too afraid to move. That was the first time we started sleeping with knives under our pillows. I was 8 when I saw it for myself. I still remember the Men in Black song playing on the radio. I peeked out from under the blanket for air, and there it was. Tall, solid black, human-shaped, standing in the doorway, unmoving. No face, no eyes, just shadow. I tickled my brother beside me, desperate to wake him. He didn't stir. The figure didn't move. I stayed under that blanket until morning. But the shadow wasn't just in our rooms. It knocked on windows, scratched at doors. It answered when spoken to. One night, while my brother and his friends were rapping in his room, something tapped at the window. They called out, thinking it was a joke. The voice that responded was deep, slow, and not human. They ran outside with a flashlight and a gun, and they saw it climbing the roof, melting into the night. My brother said it looked like a man, but not. The activity got worse. A black cat started crying outside my window at night. It sounded like a baby wailing every single night. I covered my ears to block it out, but the fear crept in. Then came the dreams. A pale girl who wanted to marry me. I got sick, fast, feverish, weak. My dad said the cat wasn't a cat, it was something else, something draining my soul. One night, he waited outside my window with a pellet gun. The cat crept up behind him. He told me that the chill hit him like ice water down his spine. He turned, and it vanished up the fence. After that, I got better. But the house never went quiet. One night, when my mom was away, my brother-in-law said I came into their room crying, asking to sleep at the foot of their bed. But when he looked, there was no one there. Only a shadow man, rising up from the end of the bed, grinning. We lived in that house for 8 years. 8 long, haunted years. We never found out what happened in that house before we moved in, just that it had once burned. No names, no history, just ashes and shadows. Even now, decades later, I still dream about that place. I wake up with that same heavy sadness, like the house is calling me home, like something still waits there, watching. So, if you don't believe in ghosts, or spirits, or shadow men lurking in dark corners, then maybe you've just been lucky. But for the rest of us who've seen it, felt it, there's no debate. It's real. And sometimes it follows you. Title: Shadow of Danville. You ever heard a story that just clung to you like cobwebs in your mind? I've got one of those. It didn't happen to me, not directly, but it happened to folks in my family, and more than a few of them are no longer with us. Some say that's part of the curse. Me? I'm not so sure, but I'll tell it like it was told to me, and you can judge for yourself. It all started in Danville, Virginia. Small town, modest homes, nothing too fancy. One of my mom's friends, Susan, and her husband Sherman bought a little place there. 1 bedroom, 2-bath house. Sounded perfect at the time. But strange things started happening before they'd even settled in. Sherman was a roofer, so when the bedroom ceiling began leaking, he didn't think much of it. He got up on the roof to take a look and found 2, maybe 3 holes. Clean cuts, like something had punctured the roof with precision. Odd, but fixable, or so he thought. Not long after, Susan was out front chatting with a neighbor. The woman hesitated when Susan mentioned buying the house. Surprised someone bought that place, she said. Susan pressed her, but the neighbor quickly clammed up, just walked off, like she'd said too much. Eventually, Susan found out why. The house had a history, a grim one. The previous owners were an elderly couple. The wife had dementia, and the husband had just received a terminal cancer diagnosis. One night, while she knelt beside their bed in prayer, he shot her in the back of the head, then turned the gun on himself. Murder-suicide right there in the house, the bedroom. That place sat empty for years. Everyone who looked at it felt something off. And now Susan and Sherman had moved right in. I remember visiting once with my mother. Afternoon turned to evening, and I was sitting on the floor by the couch, playing with something or another. The front door stood open, just the screen closed. That's when I saw it. A figure passed by outside, not dark like a shadow, but glowing, white, luminous, like it made its own light. And just like that, it was gone. My hair stood on end. I was too scared to speak. Turns out, that wasn't a one-time thing. That white shape started appearing regularly, drifting across the backyard, blinking in and out of sight along the fence line, always close to the property, like it couldn't leave. Other kids saw it too. Sometimes it was near the front bedroom, sometimes the kitchen, but always glowing, always watching. One of the most chilling things happened in the front bathroom. The room just wouldn't stay clean. Every time Susan cleaned it, within minutes it would be covered again, with wet, coarse hair, like someone had just shaved over and over again. They even called in plumbers, but it wasn't the pipes. And it wasn't imagination either. My mother saw it with her own eyes. Susan cleaned the sink, locked the bathroom from the outside, and handed my mom the key. 15 minutes later, they opened it up, and there it was again, a sink full of hair and water. Eventually, they gave up, sealed the bathroom off entirely. Drywall, paint, like it was never there. But that didn't stop whatever was inside that house. Susan's grandkids started seeing people, 2 figures, in the dining room. A man and a woman, always together. One boy, Dylan, saw them most often. At first, he was terrified, but over time, He grew attached, started calling them by name. Names no one had told him. Names that matched the couple who died in that house. Now here's where things get dark. Dylan wasn't a normal kid. Always had a temper. Some mental problems, sure, but he was never violent until the voices started, until he got close to those figures. Years later, around Christmas, first time his mother, Linda, had ever put up a tree, Dylan snapped. He killed her, shot her in the face, shot her fiancé too, then poured fuel over their bodies and lit them on fire, just like that. Then he got in his truck, drove halfway across town, pulled into the median, and turned the rifle on himself. The man who found his body will never forget what he saw. The house where Linda died is still standing, still smells like smoke, still decorated for Christmas. That tree never came down. And folks say you can't get near it without feeling like something's watching you, like the walls themselves remember. Some people think Dylan was haunted, possessed even. Maybe those glowing figures were really spirits. Maybe not. Maybe something darker put on a friendly face until it could pull him under. All I know is this: whatever lives in that house, it's not done yet. So if you're ever driving through Danville and you see a little white house with no front bathroom, keep driving. Because the dead may rest, but some things just linger. Title: Memories from Lawsonville Avenue. You ever hear a story that doesn't leave you? One that crawls into your bones and stays there like a cold you can't shake? This one's about a house on Lawsonville Avenue. Just hearing the name stirs something in the back of your mind. Maybe because of those old Lawson murders folks whisper about, though that happened somewhere else. Still, there's something about the name that clings to you. I was just a kid when we moved into that house. 8, maybe 10 or 12. Young enough not to know better. Old enough to feel it when something wasn't right. First night we were there, my parents were unpacking downstairs in the dining room, exhausted from moving boxes all day. That's when they heard it. A phone ringing, clear as day, from the basement. But here's the thing. There was no phone down there. Just a bare bulb, a furnace, and a strange pile of what looked like lime or ash near it. Never could figure out why that was there. Maybe something to do with an old stove. Maybe something else entirely. And if you crawled way up toward the front of the house, it got real low, almost claustrophobic. That red clay ground, raw and untouched, made your skin itch just looking at it. One day, I found an old frog gigging stick up there, a little trident tool meant for catching frogs or small game. It was rusted, but still sharp. Right next to it, jammed into a space you'd have to belly crawl to reach, was a grocery bag of women's clothes, heels, sweaters, maybe 2 full outfits. No way someone just lost that up there. It was hidden, tucked away behind a busted concrete block under the porch like someone didn't want it to be found. After that first night, things settled down for a bit. My grandfather, who'd had gangrene in his leg, misdiagnosed for years, started getting worse. They amputated his toe, then half his foot, then the whole thing. Every day, a little more of him disappeared. Finally, they took his leg just below the knee. The infection was gone, but he never really came back from that. He had a stroke, then complications, and eventually he passed, right there on the porch. While he was recovering, he and my grandmother moved into the house with us. At that point, I moved from the middle bedroom to the back bedroom so they could have the space. I never noticed anything strange while they were there, but after they left, the house changed. It was a slow shift, subtle at first. That middle bedroom, the one I used to sleep in, felt different, like it was draining the life out of you. You'd walk past it and feel this weight pressing on your chest. I've felt that same feeling a few other places since then, but nothing quite like that room, and my grandparents were good people. Whatever was there, it wasn't them. At least, not them the way they were in life. Then came the messages. They started appearing on the bathroom mirror. Smiley faces, little scribbles, sometimes words. The mirror was high on the wall, too high for a child to reach, even if there had been one around. But they kept showing up, over and over again, no matter how many times we wiped it clean. The hallway to the bathroom was narrow, with bedrooms on either side. At the end was a vent in the floor, part of the old oil furnace system. That hallway, it always felt like someone was behind you, watching, following. You'd turn and find nothing, but the feeling never left. I stayed in that back bedroom for a long time. Didn't want to go back to the middle one. Too heavy, too dark. And that's when he started showing up. Every night, without fail, there was a figure at the end of my bed. A man in a long coat and a fedora, completely black. Not like clothes black, like shadow black. Like he absorbed all the light in the room. He stood there, still as a gravestone, silent as the dead. Never moved, never spoke, just watched. Years passed. He never left. Then came something else, something softer. A presence, female this time. She'd come in after dark, sit beside me on the bed. I always kept my head under the covers, didn't want to see. Even when I dared to peek, there was nothing there to see. Just the feeling of someone sitting there, breathing, sometimes humming. When she came, the weight of the shadow man would ease for a little while, and then things started to get stranger. The TV would flip channels by itself. The air would shift, thick with something you couldn't name. Nights stretched long and sleepless. That house, it held things. Memories, maybe. Pain. Secrets too deep to dig up. Till this day, I don't know what lived in that house with us, but I know it never really left.